Hi and welcome to an Alpha Challenge video. In this video we'll be breaking down a new archetype that I got 6 wins with, the quest Murloc Paladin. The idea behind the deck is you're planning on swarming out a bunch of Murlocs onto your opponent's board. The quest increases your summons of Murlocs by 1/1 each time, and you're using a lot of different swarming Murlocs to be able to get a bunch out into the field. The 6 mana Treasuregil, it allows you to get a bunch of different minions out, and you can a bunch of different Murlocs out, and you can also use it to swarm your opponent. So you can trade in efficiently into something, and then you can get a bunch of Murlocs to be refilling your board. The other parts that have been added into this deck is you've got the Greenfin Thief, and that allows you to get 2 more Murlocs that are 1/1s with Rush, but with your extra ability coming from your quest, it does buff them up involved with that as well. The cards that you're looking to mulligan for, you're obviously keeping your quest each time. You're keeping Murmy, you're keeping the other 1 mana Murloc, the Greenfin. You're also looking at keeping the Tidehunter and the Violet Treasuregil, and then Hot Spring Glide is also a good keep as well. In general, your turn 1, you're going to play down the quest. Turn 2, you're going to look to play down your Violet Gil or your Murloc Tidecaller. And then turn 3, you're looking to play down your other minions. Or if you can, you're looking to play down your Hot Spring Glider to be able to then get your buffs happening onto your board. If you do have the Violet Treasuregil and it's turn 3, and then you get the other Gil, you're obviously looking to try and get the other Murloc coming from that as well if you can, but hopefully with the buff you're looking for the Hand of Eldara to then obviously give the buff down onto the 2/2, which then becomes a 3/3 because it targets that particular minion. Going into the gameplay, you'll see that I am playing against a Druid right now. They're trying to get their quest active, so they're trying to get as many, as wide a board as possible down into their field. I do set up my board here to make it so I can trade quite easily into them. With the 5/1 that they have there on the field as well, I do just make sure that I get rid of that and I keep my 5/4. It is a sticky minion that they have there. Obviously, I don't want to keep just trading into it. It being a 0/1 is obviously a lot better for me than it being a 5/1, but they do have the taunt, the new minion that allows their board to get +1, 2, and taunt for the 3-drop, which is something that you do need to watch out for when you're playing against this. They end up getting their Dark Gift as well minion. I draw into my Greenfin here and I just play it down first. I could have potentially gone for the toy Rhinoceros, but in reality, like, I do have a relatively wide board here that is basically all that I need at the moment. And then I do just trade into the 4/2 with my 6/5 just to keep it up onto the field, because it's not likely that their deck is going to be running Swipe, so I don't really need to worry too much about being in a bad situation for it. They end up using their their spell to be able to draw 4 cards and then obviously get them reduced by 1, which is a very powerful effect. And then they've also got their Flock going onto the field, so they're going to be able to get their first proc off of their quest, which is fine. Like, I'm not really too concerned about that. I could have potentially played down the Tyrannosaurus Rex that turn, which possibly would have been a better play, but it doesn't really matter too much because I can always use it from hand to be able to take out something big that they have on the field. They play down their Platysaur, so it does mean that they are getting an extra card, and then they play down their Ancient Raptor as well, and now they're more than likely going to play down their minion that allows them to get Taunt and +1/2, which obviously is a little bit difficult for me to be able to deal with for their board. They use the Living Roots as well to be able to clear my 6/1, and then they play down their Photosynthesis, and then eventually they will play down the minion to get the Taunts onto the field. The Hatchery Helper, which obviously is quite a decent swing for them. I do obviously have ways to clear a lot of the different cards that they have there, and with the Glider I can use that to then use my 6-drop to be able to trade really easily into them, and I don't need to worry about if they are able to take it out, because the idea is you're wanting to be able to keep the... I don't really want to be popping the... I don't really want to be popping the buff at the moment. I don't really... the Death Rattle at the moment, and right now I'm just deciding how best to trade into their minions that they have here. trading into the 1/3 is definitely the last choice of this, because when that 1/3 comes back out, they'll be able to get then the 5/1 to come back out of it. So I'm waiting till next turn to trade into it. They end up using trees here, so it does end up clearing my 8/5, but it uses a lot of their mana going into this turn, and with the amount of minions that I have on the board, I am sitting in a relatively decent position going into the next turn. They use the 1/3 to be able to trade into my minion to be able to get another one off the board, and currently I am sitting with the 22 damage on the field, so it is pretty much lethal at the moment. I don't think that is a way that they'll be able to clear it here. They use their Hatchery Helper, so it does get them the taunts, and I think that does allow them to survive an extra turn. But in reality, it's not too much of an issue. With the helper that I have here, it does mean that I am able to clear all of their board, and I think it is lethal through that, if I counted this correctly. Yeah, so it ends up being quite a strong situation for me, being able to get the Crusader Aurora, and then obviously I end up winning through that game. So the deck does have a decent amount of power. I don't know how it would go in actual standard sort of games. In this limited format, is a lot stronger, but it seems possibly like it runs out of gas quite easily. Yeah, so I'm not 100% sure how the deck will work in terms of actual standard play, but in a metagame where it's not very developed, it is quite strong because you can get extra buffs happening onto your field. With this hand, I obviously kept the quest, and then I'm putting down the Treasuregil on next turn, which will be quite strong for me. I did accidentally end up roping them because I think I walked away from the computer for a few minutes. They play down their Squirrel, which is fine, and then this turn I'm going to be playing down the Treasuregil. With the Treasuregil, obviously I'm looking at getting the hand spell, which I do end up getting, so it makes it into a 3/3. And then it allows you to draw an extra card as well, which is quite good. Something that you do need to think about if you are in the earlier turns like this, you want to make sure that your quest is staying active. With the Challenger and the 4-drop in my hand, I do end up just getting it down onto the field, because next turn, and I also take out the egg, because next turn I'll be able to use the Thief to be able to trade into those cards if I need to anyway. They do have a 2/1 that comes onto the field as well, and they have the 1/2 as well coming from their their location. So in reality, they're sitting on a relatively decent position. They do end up going face, which is a little bit interesting. I use my Thief here to get, obviously, the wide board coming from it as well. And it does get a few of the 1/1s and 2/2s, because once you've used your first proc, you end up getting the extra buff coming from it. And I do just trade into all the minions here to be able to get the extra buffs. I could have potentially traded differently to make it so I had an extra few damage onto the board, but in reality it doesn't matter too much, because I'm just going to be making sure their board's staying clear while I'm getting the extra buffs down into my minions. I play down the Murmy here, and then I just buff up my minions some more, and then I just take out all their other minions just to reduce the likelihood of them getting the extra buff down. They end up getting their 3/2-1s down onto the board, which is fine. Like they're not able to pose any sort of threat at the moment. And currently, with the 18 damage on my field and then a weapon in my hand, I'd be able to get lethal. So the aggression obviously was a bit too much for them there, because they weren't really able to draw into what they needed to. Going to the next one, I'm playing against Priest. I hadn't played against Priest prior to this game, which is like I didn't really know what I'd be coming up against. I did also keep the Submerge map in this hand. I don't really know if it's a great keep, like it feels a bit iffy keeping it. You obviously can get the extra, you reduce the likelihood of getting it with your Violet Treasuregil, but and it means that you more than likely will have a play, but it's a bit, yeah, it means that you can play a card down, but you're not likely to get something that great from it, so I'm not really sold on that sort of keep that I did there. Going into this turn, I do just play down the map. I choose the Treasuregil here, and then I use the coin to get the Treasuregil because it means that I'll be able to get the extra minion coming out of it. So I did get a little bit lucky with that proc, and I choose the Treasuregil. So with that, it does mean that I get the extra value that comes from it, which will be quite good. And then they end up using the 2 shadow spells to be able to take me out. I play down my 3-drop, which means that next turn I'll be able to play down the 6-drop, and then I can trade quite easily into the cards that they have here. I did make a little bit of a mistake on this turn, taking out the 5-3 rather than taking out the 2-7. It's a lot better value for me to take out the 2-7, just because they do get that continuous buff coming out. Yeah, with the 2-7, it does mean that they get that buff and then the Divine Shield coming from it as well. So I think they did make a little bit of a mistake how they ended up trading into this, by not keeping the Divine Shield on the 6, on the 4-9, which would then become a 6-11. But yeah, it's fine because there's no real silence that I'd be able to use. I guess they may have done it so that they could get that 4-7 out, but it doesn't really seem very correct. I do end up playing down my Hand of Drasil to be able to get the buffs down onto the field. A problem that I will face next turn is I won't be able to get the Kindred down, which is okay because I can use the Gil on it. And I'm just deciding right now whether to do trade or go face. Going face is reasonable, but if they end up using the spell that I know they have, they'd end up getting a decent trade-off and healing back most of that health anyway. Yeah, so it just means that I'm in a safer sort of position for that turn. They play down the Bitter Bloom Knight, so it does mean that they will get the extra buffs coming out. And then they do get a minion, so they chose a spell, they do the Flash Heal, and they just play down their 4-6, so it means that they're getting the extra proc down onto it. I do have the 7-4, so I just use it to trade into their face, and then I trade my 3-2, and then just send the rest of the damage onto them. So I am sitting in a relatively decent position here, because I don't think they run too much AoE. That could be a bit of an issue for me. The blessing through the hero power can be reasonable, but they use it just to be able to trade out the cards that I have onto the field. And then next turn I will be able to use the Thief if I want to be able to take out their board, or I can use the other one. So I end up just using the 3-3 to trade into their Bitter Bloom Knight, and then the 3-2 to go face. It means that I've got a relatively wide board for next turn, and then I obviously have the aura for the following turn to be able to deal more damage. They play down their Glade Ecologist, they play down Thrive of Shadows, but there's not really too much that I need to worry about that they could potentially play. And then they play down their Flutterwing Guardian, so I end up having lethal here because I can just play down both the Crusader auras, trade them for my weapon, and then just go face with the rest of the stuff, and it does end up dealing lethal through that. So obviously the deck they have won't be as optimized as possible. Priest also works a lot better with a larger card pool, just simply because it allows you to get extra quests and extra options to do with your trading and your board clears and things like that. With aggro decks, a smaller pool is generally going to be better for you. So I end up keeping the quest and then the glider, because if I needed to, I could just go quest and then I can go another one of the 1-drops. So what I'm going to do in this following turn is I'm going to play down the quest, then I'm going to go Murloc Tidecaller, then I'm going to play down the glider on turn 3, and then on turn 4 I'll probably be playing down the Thief, more than likely. It's obviously a great idea when you are playing to get an idea of what your lines are going to be. Since they have the 2-3 down onto the board, it is quite possible that it is better to play down the 4-drop now, to just go coin and then 4-drop, because it means that I'll be able to clear the 2-3 while also establishing a little bit of a board presence against them. They end up playing down the Cinder Sword, which is able to get them to get into an aggressive sort of situation. So in this spot, I am wanting to get the glider down, use the coin, get the Murloc War Leader down, because it means that I'll be able to get the Divine Shield down on it as well. And then I just trade into the 2/3 and have 4 damage going face. Because with their board state currently, it's not likely they'll be able to deal with my 3/3 unless they have something relatively strong, unless they have something relatively decent to be able to trade into it. Since I do have the Thief as well, I am able to trade quite easily into the 3/2 with that has the Divine Shield and the Divine Shield there. So this turn I just play down the Thief just to be able to get my board clear happening. It does allow me to summon 4 2s onto the field. I do use the 4 2s just to trade into their 2/1, and then I just trade them to the 2/2. Like, in reality, I could have dealt more damage here, but I am sitting in quite a strong position, not really having to worry about that, since I do have the Thief for next turn as well. And I'll be able to clear their 2/7. So I play down the 1-drop first just to see what I end up getting. It doesn't really help me this turn. And then I play down my 4-drop just to be able to clear their 2/7. And then I trade the 5/3 and the 4/2 into them. Their board obviously is quite weak, and they end up getting the pilot, so they are going to be able to clear most of my minions that are here. It just leaves me with the 1. But with the amount of damage that I'm just sitting on board, I'm not really too worried about what could come from that, because they're sitting in such a weak position here. So I just play my weapon down, I play down the 3/3, and I just play down the 1-drop as well. And then they'll end up just conceding, because there isn't, once they've used the pilot, there's not really any AoE they can potentially use to be able to clear any of my minions on the board. They play down the Platysaur, they draw a card, and then they play down the Swashbuckler. Like, they're essentially just playing and hoping for the best, and unfortunately for them, there's not really anything else they can do. And I do get that win there. Going into the next game, I am playing against a Shaman. I haven't played against a Shaman just yet, at this point in time. But I did have a little look to see what decks are being a little bit more popular, and it does seem like the Elemental Shaman has a little bit of popularity behind it. And yes, what is quite interesting is, since I'm recording this in the future, is that the Paladin decks that I've been versing quite a bit, they've been the Imbue Paladin rather than the Murloc Paladin. So they've been using like essentially the usual package that's in the deck to be able to, like, it's a little bit boring. Like, they just use the Imbue deck. So I feel like they need to just get rid of the Imbue from Paladin for next. Like, they just need to do the ban for it, like they did with the Creature of Madness, just simply because it's just too much to really be worrying about. Yeah. I play down the Cinder. I play down the Challenger just to be able to get the extra Murloc coming out of my pool, and then this turn I'll be able to summon a wide board coming from the Thief. It does get the extra buff onto the extra Murloc that's here, so it's a little bit different to the old way that this happened. And then I do end up just trading the 3/2 first into the 2/3, and then I trade my 1/1 into the 2/1. Like, I potentially could have done it differently, but if the 3/2 had been taken out by that, it would have put me in a significantly worse position. So I did just trade it to be a little bit safer with how it was. They play the coin, they get down their Cultist. The Cultist seems relatively decent in terms of its power. And I do just play down the hand here just to be able to then trade properly into the minions that they have onto the board. I use my 4/3 to trade into their Cultist, and then I use my 4/2 to trade into the 1/5. And I opt to play down the Murloc Tidecaller. Like, I could have potentially used it in the next turn to get my 6-drop out for cheaper, but applying pressure in this situation does seem like the better sort of play, because it didn't seem like they'd have any sort of AoE to be able to clear it, because there's no potions in this game mode at the moment. If they did have potions, that would be a different sort of play because of the board being a little bit weak to the potions. I just send all my minions into their face, and then I trade the 2/2 into the 2/1, and then the 7/4 into the 2/7 just to get rid of it off the board. With the Divine Shield sitting on my field, it does mean that I'm sitting relatively healthy in terms of options they potentially could have. They use their Volcanic Theatre to draw themselves another spell, and then I do have the 1-drop onto the field. I play down my Murloc here, and it ends up getting a rush, which can be okay, but I play down the hand here just so I'm able to attack, and then I use all my minions to push into them. I use the Frog to trade into their minion just to get rid of it off the board, just in case they do have some sort of way to clear the minions that I have here. They end up then just conceding, so with their board, and in this game mode it is quite common that there aren't many AoE clears that opponents are using, so it means that this deck is quite strong against most of the field. The Imbue Paladin is definitely one that it's weaker against, just simply because of the fact that they have Equality, they have Consecrate, they have the dragon, the Time Dragon, so it does mean that they sit relatively well in terms of dealing with your boards. The dragon definitely is really difficult to deal with because sending your cards into the future and then using the aura does mean that quite often you won't be able to deal with that pressure coming from it. They play down the red scale here. In terms of this turn, I do want to just play down my Greenfin first, just to see what I end up getting. It ends up just being a thief, so it's not really too important, and then I just pass over to my opponent. What I'll probably be doing this next turn is I'll play down the War Leader, just to be able to trade into their minions relatively well. They use the 2/3 to trade into my 1/1, which is absolutely correct, because if they didn't, the War Leader would have been very dominant in that situation. I end up just trading with my War Leader to get to the 3/1. It's possible that using the 2-drop was better there, but if they had a way to clear my War Leader, but it wasn't too likely considering. I end up just playing the Thief down here. It's obviously going to be my best play. I use it to trade into their dragon and then just go face. What I'm trying to set up here is trying to set up quite a strong board position, because if they end up having Equality Consecrate, it will be a little bit tricky for me, but if they don't, it means that I'm sitting quite healthy and quite strong. I play down the 1-drop first, just so then I can get the extra buff happening onto one of my rush minions, which will then obviously be able to trade more efficiently if I need it to. I use the 4/2s to trade into the Drake, and then I just go face with my other minions. That didn't feel like an excellent trade, but it did what it needed to. They get the second Dream Warden, which is a little bit unfortunate, because obviously it is quite a strong card. And then they get an okay dragon. I play down my Treasuregil here. It does get the Submerged map, and then it gets a Glider. Using that Glider is obviously better than the other Glider, because it means I can choose another card to get. And I do choose the dragon. I mean the big dinosaur Murloc. And then I just trade into my opponent's minions just here, just to get it cleared, and I use the 7/4 to go face, because sitting with the amount of board pressure I have here will be quite decent. They end up using the Dread Scale here. Without having Equality Consecrate, they don't really have a way to clear. If they did have Equality Consecrate, they'd be in a much better position going into this turn. But yeah, unfortunately for them, they don't end up having it. They play down the Aegis of Light, but it's obviously not enough, considering that I have the 14 damage available at the moment. So I just trade, and then I go face with my other stuff. I did just double check to make sure that I had it. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I really do appreciate the support, and hopefully this will support you in your Tavern Brawl wins. Thank you, and bye for now.